Hi, I'm Alan Abris. Some of you might recall seeing me at the 1992 Nationals videotaping the various events. The video you are now watching was compiled from 7 hours of tape shot at the Nats. It is impossible for one videographer to cover every event in the 7 days in which the Nats are held, and if I missed your event, I apologize. I couldn't be in every place at the same time. I would like to thank all the officials and modelers who spoke on camera. Your explanations make it easier for the non-modeler to understand what we do. And a special thanks to Joe Just, the president of the Navy Carrier Society, for his splendid voiceover during the Carrier event. And a special thanks to you for watching this tape. Enjoy the show.
Good morning, my name is Jeffrey Stiles. I'm the Director of Marketing for the Academy of Model Aeronautics. We're at Westover Air Force Base in Chicopee, Massachusetts, where we're attending the 66th Annual National Model Airplane Championships. The Academy sponsors the championships every year, and people come from all over the country, in fact from all over the world, to attend and take part in this largest model airplane championships that's ever held anywhere in the world. This year we have visitors from 40 states, Singapore, Argentina, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and Guatemala. So it not only has a national flavor, but it has an international flavor. There are approximately 60 different types of model airplane contests held here for radio control aircraft, control line aircraft, as well as free flight aircraft. Free flight are the original model airplanes that many people used to fly back in the 20s and 30s. And those are airplanes that once they are built, they fly on their own and go wherever the winds will take them. Control line airplanes fly around the pilot on wires, controlled by a handle that the pilot holds, and he can make that airplane do all kinds of maneuvers. And there are many subdivisions of contest in the control line category, such as combat, where people try to cut a streamer from the opponent's tail, speed, where of course the goal is to go as fast as you can, and team racing, where you have mandatory pit stops, and again the goal is to go as fast as you can, commensurate with the rules. In radio control we have many different categories, from gliding to helicopters to aerobatics, and we also have pylon racing, which is flown here every morning. Pylon racing simulates the old Goodyear races, where you have 4 airplanes in a heat, and the object there is to go as fast as you can, and the winner in his succession of heats is declared the overall winner in the contest. So we have many different events here. We never charge admission, so we have many people come from the local area and from far afield to view the contest. We don't charge for parking. So it's a wonderful day out for the family. Modelers, of course, are very friendly and they're very willing to talk about their sport. And with all of the different types of aircraft that are on display, plus the concessions and the hobby shop and the swap shop and all of the other things that go with the Nationals, it's a bit like a circus, and we are, in fact, under a circus tent, which is the center of attraction for this 66th Annual National Championships.
am from Auburn, Kansas. I am this year's Navy Carrier Event Director. I am also the current Vice President of the Navy Carrier Society. The Navy Carrier Society is a special interest group who are here to promote flying of Navy carrier airplanes. Navy Carrier is an event that requires 3 different elements. We take off from a simulated carrier deck, which is 44 feet in length. We fly 7 laps, which is a half-mile in length, as fast as the airplane can go. The airplanes are equipped with throttles, which they use to fly low speed. After the completion of high speed, they slow the airplanes down, signal the officials that they're ready to start their low speed, and are timed for 7 laps of low speed. After the completion of the low speed, they drop a tail hook and must again signal the officials and then land on the simulated carrier deck. How this event is scored is you are given 1 point for every mile per hour for high speed. And then for low speed, you're given the ratio, excuse me, sorry about that. For low speed, they take the ratio of your low speed to your high speed and multiply that by 10 to come up with your low speed score. For landing, it is scored on if you come in and hook any one of the cables on the first try and you're in a normal attitude for landing, you're given 100 points. Your points can be deducted for if you miss the deck and have to go around and try it again, or if the plane lands in something other than a 3-point attitude, or if by chance you landed with 1 wheel off of the deck. Now, before we can fly the event, all the planes must be processed. What we do is bring the planes in and check them to make sure that they meet the minimum standards or that they don't exceed the standards on the length of the wingspan, how much the model weighs, and then last, they're given to see that if they resemble an actual aircraft that made a Navy carrier landing.
My name's Joe DiZarlo, and I'm going to be one of the officials tomorrow and on Friday for the Navy carrier events and control line. We're here in the base hangar, and we're going to be processing a profile model airplane that'll be flying tomorrow. What we're basically going to be doing is checking it off against the requirements that are listed in the rule book. And I'll be doing the measurement, Jane will be doing the recording, and the whole process should take about a minute. But we're going to go through it right from the top. Okay?
AMA number on the plane?
All right, the AMA number is on the upper wing.
Wingspan is less than 50 inches.
Wingspan measures out less than 50 inches.
Wing area is more than 300 inches.
Yes, by just a quick observation, we can tell that it's over 300 squares. We don't have to have the exact number, just is it over? This one is.
Control lines?
I knew I'd mess this up. Yes, control lines are within the root wing, within 1 inch apart.
Landing gear, 2 gears, 4 inches apart.
It has a main gear. Both wheels are 4 inches apart minimum.
Equipment is less than 1/3 of the fuselage.
We'll measure the tail hook first. 9 inches. Can be no longer than 1/3 the length, so as long as we get 27 inches of fuselage, we're all set. You want to grab that? Thank you. We've got no problem. We've got over 30 inches.
No cowl.
It is an uncowled airplane.
Front intake.
Front intake engine.
Exhaust passage.
Exhaust passage is less than 3 inches from the center line to the exhaust end.
Fuel system, no pressure.
It is a suction system. There is no pressure. The airplane at this point is a legal aircraft. At this point, it would go down to the next station and get weighed. The maximum weight is 4 pounds. It has already been weighed. It is under 4 pounds. It clears that. The last station is where it's checked for 3 views. The builder is required to supply a set of scale 3 views, which shows the authenticity of the aircraft. And as long as it falls or closely resembles the aircraft, it is legal. Again, it is profile, so the top view, the width of the fuselage is not counted because it's only a profile airplane. This airplane will compete tomorrow in the profile carrier event.
In the hobby of model airplane flying, there is one event which is very simple in scope and very exciting to watch and to participate in. It's called Navy Carrier. The object of Navy Carrier control line flying is to give a simulated performance of an actual carrier takeoff, combat flight, and landing on the deck. The deck itself is curved to fit the circle flown in control line. It's about 44 feet long. There are 10 arresting cables at the rear of the deck. One of the problems in a carrier right off the start, even though it is a simple event, is you have a very, very short place to take off, so acceleration and power are very, very important in this event. It is a simple event in that there are no aerobatics, no pit stops to be performed. Anyone who can fly an airplane straight and level can compete and enjoy carrier flying. On the deck now, preparing to start his Class 2 carrier airplane, is Dr. Peter Mazer, very, very interesting person, holds several doctorates and is an ordained minister. In control line flying, one of the things that appeals to a great many people is the diverse backgrounds of the contestants. We come from a vast variety of backgrounds. We have doctors, lawyers, and perhaps even an Indian chief or two. We haven't really looked into that, but there are those of us who do claim some Indian heritage. The thing that brings us all together in Navy Carrier is love of the event. And while it is simple, it can be difficult at times. One of the difficult problems on occasion are these high-performance engines, which are occasionally difficult to start because of their nature. Dr. Mazer will now go to the center of the circle to begin the first portion of the carrier event, which is a timed for high speed section of this event. The plane will be timed at release for 7 laps, which equals a half a mile, and he'll receive points for this. Extreme acceleration in this class of carrier is exciting. And as you may notice, the plane simply flies straight and level for 7 timed laps. The difficulties involved in this are there's a tremendous amount of force that builds up with an airplane of this size, but anybody who can fly a control line model airplane straight and level should have no problem with it. At this point, we begin to enter the second phase of Navy Carrier flying, wherein you have to fly 7 laps as slowly as possible. And Dr. Mazer will throttle the airplane down with a 3rd wire hooked up to a throttle on the engine. When he's satisfied that it's flying as slowly as he can get it, he will signal the timers, and the 7 laps of counting will begin as it crosses the front portion of the deck. There are some limiting factors and some rules in the slow speed which make it very interesting. For example, you have to maintain forward motion at all times. You cannot back up, you cannot stop, and you cannot exceed 60 degrees of attitude. In the center of the circle, Joe DiZallo is a center judge. Basically, what Joe is looking for is to make certain that the airplane does not touch the ground the ground is considered water. If you touch the ground with any portion of the airplane, you are considered to have sunk. The other thing that Mr. DiZallo is watching for at this time with a handheld triangle is that the plane does not exceed 60 degrees in attitude. If it does, a warning is given. You are allowed 3 warnings during your slow speed portion of the flight. Should you get to your 4th warning, you are automatically disqualified. In Navy Carrier, the scoring is based on several things. You get a point for each mile per hour of fast speed. You then determine the miles per hour of slow speed. There is a very simple mathematical formula then which you will end up with a numerical score based on the difference between the slow speed and the high speed. The airplanes in this class, if they are within 5% tolerance of the original prototype of the airplane, receive an additional 100 bonus points. At the completion of the slow speed period, there is a portion of time where Dr. Mazur can align his plane and prepare for an arrested landing. If you look closely, perhaps you can see the tail hook hanging at the back of the airplane. This was tripped when the airplane went into its slow speed. At that point, the difficulty is that you have to thread the eye of a needle and be able to bring your airplane down to an arrested landing on any one of the 10 arresting ropes which cross the deck. The 2 most interesting portions of Carrier for most people, the thing that fascinates them the most, of course, is the slow speed. In all the control line activity, the wires, of course, which connect you to the controls of the airplane are very important. Perhaps in no other event is your connection so important. You're constantly trying to keep your engine at a speed where at this point you are keeping the plane actually flying off of the propeller rather than off the wing. The plane is in a stall attitude. It is the propeller, somewhat like a helicopter, which is keeping your aircraft going. This particular portion of Carrier flying fascinates spectators. It is somewhat unrealistic. However, it is a skill type of event. And as long as you stay within the rules, you can fly as unrealistically as you wish. 7 laps after the signal for the slow speed will end the slow speed period. Dr. Mazur frequently then gives his signal immediately as he crosses the deck and will land the next lap around. Many Carrier flyers will give themselves a few laps to perhaps get their heart beating again, relax a little bit, get themselves oriented and lined up to the deck, which is only 8 foot wide, and from the center of the circle, finding the deck and placing your airplane on it can be very difficult. And unfortunately, this is one of the things that does happen in the slow speed. These are high performance engines, and sometimes they simply do not like to run too slow. Within that airplane, there are metering devices for this particular engine which give a steady, continuous pressure of fuel to the carburetor. In this case, as happens, Dr. Mazur went down, a flame out, and he unfortunately ends this flight with a very poor score. However, in Navy Carrier, not all is done. He will have an additional 2 attempts to make at least 1 official flight. Just part of the hobby, with the frustrations that are involved in it, that makes the hobby so fascinating. Navy Carrier, once again, is a simple event when all goes well. When it doesn't all go well, it can be quite frustrating.
afternoon. My name is Larry Jolly, and we're here with you at the 66th National Model Airplane Championships being held in Chicopee, Massachusetts. At this point, we're down at the helicopter flying section, and what we mean by that, this is a competition for radio control model helicopters. Today we're flying 4 classes. The scale class, which is where, like this jet range over my right shoulder, which is a rendition of a full-size man-carrying helicopter. And then we're flying 3 other classes that are based on degree of proficiency in flying. In other words, there's a novice class, intermediate class, and an international class, which is the experts are flying. Basically, radio control model helicopters are a relatively new item for model airplane flyers. They've been in existence for about 15 years. They're about 5 feet long, weigh about 12 pounds, and they're capable of 60, 70 miles an hour, and a lot of things that a full-size helicopter aren't doing, or isn't capable of doing, such as aerobatics, loops, rolls, and flying inverted. A lot of things that are common to us, the full-size ones can't do. This competition has drawn modelers from all over the U.S. Based here on the East Coast, there's a lot of East Coast modelers, but there's also modelers from as far as California, and indeed there's even a contingent from Japan. The Hirobo team from Japan is over here competing with the Americans, so they've come even longer. Thinking about what we're doing here, each in the 3 levels of competition I told you about before, they have to fly a set pattern, and there'll be a panel of judges that will grade them from 0 to 10 points for each maneuver. The maneuvers have a certain sequence and certain order, and then there is at the end of 4 rounds of flying, a winner is chosen, of course, from the highest score. So as you can see this afternoon, the weather here has turned rather gray. It's very windy, and this, of course, will have some outcome on the flying, as weather conditions do change quite a few things. I'm getting ready to fly scale here in a few minutes, which is we try to fly a miniature that not only looks like a full-size one, it's already been judged for accuracy and outside description. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fly it, and we have to fly it in a very scale realistic fashion, which will probably be very challenging in this wind. I've been flying model helicopters since 1976 and have been to several nationals. I'm a special effects technician in the movie business. I started out flying in a series called Airwolf in 1981 and have completed 60 airborne explosions. And what we do by that is if you think back and you see these pictures where a helicopter's in view and somebody fires a missile and the helicopter suddenly blows up, well, you have to think to yourself, to begin with, all helicopters full-size run about $500,000, and someone's got to be flying that, and someone's not going to be riding a smoke bomb with a fire blasting out the back. So what they do is they have someone like me create a miniature for the picture, and then we'll blow several of them up until the director gets the look he's trying to get. I flew the miniature Airwolf in the series and did something like 50 airborne explosions in that series. One that you may have seen is in the movie Die Hard, where the full-size Huey with the FBI agents comes off the side of a building. That's actually a 1/7 scale Huey, which is about 63 inches long, weighs 12 pounds. And I worked in conjunction with Boss Films on that, and we built a 1/7 scale office building and blew the windows out. It was a very complicated sequence of explosions. I've just completed filming 2 pictures. One's called Rest of Daniel with Mel Gibson, where we did some 1/3 size V-25 bombers. They're 19-foot wings, they're 19-foot long and 22-foot wingspans, very large miniatures. Hollywood right now is going for the larger miniatures. Also, you'll see later in the fall at a new Steven Seagal picture called Soul Survivor. It's kind of like Die Hard that takes place on a battleship. It's a pretty neat film. Anyway, I blew up some F-18s on that picture, and we just finished that. So I've been pretty busy all year building miniatures and blowing them up. It's a little different in Hollywood because there we do things for the camera, and it's the camera doesn't pick everything up that a scale judge would pick up here. So this is actually harder competition than being for a movie camera. But I was fortunate. I think I've done like 62 or 63 airborne explosions now. Still have all my fingers, and I won an Emmy for a movie called Miracle Landing on CBS production 2 years ago. So I've been very fortunate. I've managed to make a career out of my hobby.
Small turn on this heading. Starting. This heading, starting. Now. Complete. Translation landing.
Larson, your money, right?
Yeah. On this heading. Starting. Now. Maneuver complete. License.
you are and what's going on.
My name is Mike Urban, and this is the 1992 National Model Airplane Championships. The event in question here is Control Line Combat. And today we are having the finals of slow combat. We started yesterday and ran about half the matches, and today we will finish after lunch. We've got about 2 or 3 rounds left. The rest of the week we will have FAI, the international event, will be flown tomorrow. On Thursday we'll have half A combat with small engines. And on Friday and Saturday is the granddaddy of the event, what we call AMA fast combat, with pressurized fuel systems and hopped up engines. Some of these planes are turning about 128, 129 miles an hour. It's probably the most exciting event in all of model aviation. I have a good time with it. I started when I was 11 years old. Y'all come out and see it.
I'm on the air. My name's Phil Cartier. We're here today to watch combat flying, model airplane dogfighting. I'm a vice president of the Miniature Aircraft Combat Association, one of the sponsors of this event, along with the AMA, the Academy of Model Aeronautics. The object of this competition is to chase the other airplane and cut the crepe paper streamer off. The pilots receive points for 100 points for cutting the crepe paper and 1 point for each second they're in the air. And shortly here we'll go to one of the final matches, some of the top flyers in the country, and you'll see the action.
Tell us what the planes are made of.
Most of these planes are made of styrofoam cut to the wing shape, and they have spars of hardwood, and they're powered by little gasoline engines. They're actually fueled with methanol, but they're called gas engines. The motors produce about 1 to 1.5 horsepower. These planes fly somewhere around 80 to 90 miles an hour. So and they're tethered by lines which the pilot holds in his hand, and he can control the elevator of the plane and make it maneuver and do loops and figure eights and fly almost anywhere he wants around the circle that they fly in. This is a slow combat match between Steve Wilk from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Lloyd Seymour from Leominster, Massachusetts, 80 miles an hour, and they'll each be towing a crepe paper streamer about 10 feet long. Pilots will be trying to maneuver behind the other plane to catch the cut pieces of the crepe paper streamer off. They also try and stay in the air for the full 5 minutes of the match because they get 1 point per second for being in the air, and then 100 points for each time they cut the crepe paper streamer. They're just getting ready to start the match here. The Circle Marshal Mike Urban from Chicago, Illinois, is giving them the countdown, 15 seconds to go to start. The pit crews start the motors by flipping the propeller by hand. If they're really good, both planes will start within a half a second of each other and be in the air. Well, Seymour was up first, Steve Wilk was up second. That's enough difference in points to determine the match if it comes down to air time. They're maneuvering. Often they're doing figure eight. Of course, chasing Wilk as close as he can. They're aiming for the tip of the streamer, because if they hit, the match is over more than likely. Well, Seymour is still chasing Wilk. He's keeping behind him very well. Well, Seymour went into the ground. Their wires got all tangled and doing loops around each other, and Seymour went straight into the ground. It looks like his plane will be repairable. They can get it back up in the air within the 5 minutes. And we didn't see any cuts, so Steve Wilk is just accumulating air time. He flies for 100 seconds. He's made up for any cut that Seymour might get. Meanwhile, Lloyd Seymour's pit crew is working furiously to clean the dirt out of the motor and put a new propeller on. And they probably have to glue the tail back together to get the plane up in the air. And Joe Fustolo, the starting man, just got the propeller on. He's flipping it again. They never start. There it goes, it's off. And Seymour's up in the air again. They fly around level till the circle marshal tells them to go. He told them go. Now Steve Wilk is chasing Lloyd. And he got a cut, maybe two cuts. Seymour got a cut back. Piece of orange, and now Lloyd Seymour's motor quit. Looks like it got wrapped up with the streamer and got choked off. His pit crew will run around and they'll try and get it up in the air again. Looks like the cuts are even up with one apiece. They're flipping it again to start it. And it's going. They're adjusting the needle valve to make it run a little faster. And he's off. The circle marshal says go, and they go. Now, quite likely they're going to have a mid-air here because when they start maneuvering so close in for those final cuts, they very quickly get too close together and crash. Now the circle marshal goes to look at the wreckage. Neither plane looks like it's flyable, and that will end the match. There's the horn, it's over. We can go check and see what the scores are and see who won. Okay, the CD Mike Urban's totting up the scores. According to the judges, Lloyd Seymour got 3 cuts, which gave him a score of 376, and Steve Wilk was scored with 1 cut, had airtime, got a score of 269. So even if Steve had gotten a second cut, he still would have lost by a few seconds. So they had a really good match, even if it did end in a midair. And now Mike marks up the won and lost. And Steve Wilk is out of it. That is his second loss. This is a double elimination tournament.
Thank you.
And Lloyd Seymour has 1 loss. He's on the bubble for his next match. He's got to win to stay in it.
Well, how you doing? I'm Joe Fustolo, Stoughton, Massachusetts. Been into combat for on and off for about 20 years now. Enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. You get out, meet a lot of nice people, and you raise a little cane. All you can do is really break some airplanes, but everybody bills extra for that.
How many did you bring with you?
Oh, I only brought about 15 with me this time for 3 events. Last minute building, last minute decision to come. But I'm here, having a good time, helping all my friends out. We've still got a couple into the last 6, which is great. Try it sometime, you might like it.
My name's Tom Iacobellis, and we just finished an event called Intermediate Stick. This is the indoor portion of the 66th Nationals, which is the Academy of Model Aeronautics National Championships. And indoor models can only be flown indoors because of their light weight. This model here is made all of balsa. All the models are made of balsa wood because it's the lightest and strongest material for what we build indoor for. And they're all rubber powered. And about 95% of the model has to be made by the model builder because nothing is really commercially available. The wood is, and this very thin plastic covering you see here. There are many different categories. This one happens to be called Intermediate Stick. And the idea is it's supposed to be an intermediate model to teach you to be able to build the lighter, more difficult classes. And these models are capable of up to 30 minutes plus inside a blimp hangar. We fly, for instance, in Lakehurst, New Jersey, and there are 2 or 3 other hangars that we fly at throughout the country. And we just finished this, this class here. I placed second at about a 20-minute flight. In here, in Chicopee, Mass, this base hangar is about 55 feet high, and the models have no problem getting to that altitude. You might have seen in some of the other footage of me winding and launching the model. Again, as I mentioned, they're rubber powered, and depending on the amount of winds that we put in the model, it should give us the duration. Also, the thickness of the rubber depends. We're able to use different thicknesses of rubber to get the different altitudes we want out of the model. Obviously, you don't want to get the model stuck in the ceiling. Talking about powering these models, we use a winder, as you saw, and this particular model, we put almost 2,000 winds in and a rubber motor that's about 15 inches long. So it's not uncommon to get 100 winds per inch of rubber. We stretch the rubber and then slowly add the winds in. And this propeller turns at about 50 RPM. So between the RPM and the amount of winds that you have is roughly going to give you the amount of time that the propeller is going to be spinning. And you hope to carry just enough rubber to withstand the length of the flight that you need. The class that they're having now is Bostonian, which is a more conventional model. They look like kind of like a Piper Cub, and they're tissue covered. They're much heavier. They have to weigh 7 grams. Speaking of weight, this model weighs 1 gram, which is 1/28 of an ounce. We try and build as light as possible in indoor. The lighter the model, the better the time. There's a trade-off between lightweight and structural integrity. It's the trick with indoor is to make the lightest model possible within the rules, but also have a model that's structurally strong. When you wind this, you're putting a lot of tension on. Enough tension that maybe you have 30 times the power in a motor than you have the weight of the model. And what happens is, when you torque that rubber up and when you put that many winds in the motor, the model have a tendency to twist and cramp up, and you have to make sure you build a model as strong as possible. On some of these intermediate and advanced models, if you notice, this wood is too thin to withstand the stresses of flight. So we use bracing wire, which is not easily seen. This is 5/10,000ths of an inch thick, and it's about 15 times thinner than your hair. Depending on, sometimes you can get it in the light and you can see that, but bracing wires go from this wing mount post up to this cabane. So it's a suspension bridge type of affair to keep the wing from folding up. Also, you have bracing on the motor stick to stop that from crunching up. When you put a fully wound motor on one of these models, the tendency is for the motor to snap the motor stick in half. The tension is downward this way, so we brace along the top. For a model like this to weigh a gram, these motor stick and boom are hollow. They're 10 thousandths balsa and 12, 15 thousandths balsa. They're hollow. We cut them out of a piece of wood stock that is appropriate, cut them to size, soak them in warm water for about a half hour, and then bake them in the oven at about 200 degrees for 20 minutes. When you're done, you unroll this wood off a form. You have a preformed piece of balsa that just has to be glued along the bottom. A tubular structure is very, very strong, and at the same time being the lightest weight possible. That basically, and we spoke about the covering also. Different classes have different types of covering. This class, as well as half of these indoor classes, are covered with a plastic. This is a very, very thin polycarbonate plastic. It's about half a thousandths thick, and its weight is negligible. And we use a very light amount of contact spray on the woodwork and then drop it onto this plastic film. Then add the different angles and brace it to finish the model up. Once a model is finished, it requires some flight testing, which we do with a small amount of wines. We don't go with a lot of wines because the model isn't set up properly. It might corkscrew into the floor, or just by the sheer strength of the motor and the light weight of the frame, it might just buckle up on you. So you always start off and try and build a model a little bit heavier and a little bit stronger. Learn about flying the models. The other part of building indoor is very interesting because there's two parts to indoor. There's the makeup of the model itself, you the modeler building the model, and then there's the flying of it. Being a free flight model, there's no control once it leaves your hand as other free flight models. So it teaches you about the different angles, incidence, wash in and wash out, CG adjustment. It teaches you a lot about how real airplanes fly, or what it takes for even other models to fly. All this is learned, and in indoor you can start with the beginner classes, penny plane. They're heavier models. Because of the name penny plane, it's a slur, but they weigh 3.1 grams, which is the exact weight of a penny. And they're not allowed to use this hollow construction. They have to be made of a solid stick, and they don't use the bracing. Because it's a heavier model, it's a lot easier to build, it's easier to handle without breaking. A lot of people say, how do you have the patience, or how do you work with such small materials? Well, you start with a beginner class and you work your way down to that. You don't start at an advanced class and struggle and wind up not getting anywhere in the hobby. You start with a beginner level, get in touch with some models in the area, find out where they're flying indoor, find out where they're doing their modeling, and you know, introduce yourself to some of the people in your area. And learning from experienced modelers is the best way. 4 years ago, I hadn't even seen an indoor model fly. And I went to one small event at a ice rink out in Long Island that closes down for a couple of months, and I watched these models fly, and I was so amazed at how slow they flew that I said, geez, you know, I'd like to give it a try. It's not as difficult as most people think it is. True, they're delicate, but after a while you get used to feeling the weights of the model, how frail it is, and you know, you can handle a model without breaking it. If you break it, it's no big sin. It can be re-glued. We use Duco type glue or Ambroid type glues that evaporate, and we thin them down 50% with acetone, so that even the glue we use the smallest amount of glue possible, and even the glue we use evaporates about 50%. It keeps the weight of the model down. If you do break something, it can be re-glued, or using these types of solvent glues, we can put some acetone on the part, literally dissolve the part and remove it off the model and replace it with a new piece of wood, or just patch it up with a little piece of tissue strip, or they have some newer high-tech materials that you can use to beef the model up. But the basic thing is, it'd be nice for people to experience some of these planes flying and get in touch with some people locally, some of the models locally, find out what's happening in your area. It's the best way to do it. Come to a national modeling championship such as this. There's an enormous amount of fun. You meet a lot of neat people, and you just see a lot of things that you would normally not be exposed to. And you can learn to fly indoor or any of the other classes that aero modeling offers. But indoor is a lot of fun. It's basically the longest amount of time in the air. It's a duration event, like most of the free flight classes. The longer the model spends in the air, the higher your score. Some classes, they use a total of 2 flights. Some classes, they multiply the craftsmanship of the model, or what we call a charisma score, by the flight time to give you a total. In either event, the goal is to stay in the air the longest, to fly the slowest, and to use the least amount of power to achieve these things.
You went a lap too late.
Keeping them on it?
You better watch it. Right?
We're here at the 1992 National Championship, Chicopee. All the flyers, record holders, and all the competitors from across the lands here. We have jet aircraft. We have propeller jobs. Today we have the particular fast airplanes, that fastest that we have. They'll be running at 140 miles an hour plus, up to possibly 160. We've had some fast flights already, but weather's improving, the guys are coming out, and it's going to get even faster this season. The jets are having a hard time to start because of the weather conditions are changing but the guys are fighting it, and they're going to be running fast just a little bit later today, and we're having a ball here, National Championship.
Again, yeah.
My name is George Brown. I've been building model airplanes for over 60 years. I've been flying speed since 1946, and the technology has changed tremendously through all the years. This happens to be the Class D speed category, which is the .65 engine. Just this year we have a new rule change with 10% nitro fuel, whereas before it was unlimited. Speeds used to be from 200 to literally 220. Not necessarily official. Official record I think was 214. This happens to be again a series of airplanes, this one being about 9 years old, this one being about 3 years old, this one being brand new for this meet. We're all in the same boat, you might say, with the new rule change, trying to get the fuel to work in this category. Today, I think we're up to about 177 miles an hour, which is quite a ways off from the existing speed record of 2:14. We've been flying all week long, the different categories, today being the last day for speed, D-speed, and jet. The engines cost on the average of, let's say, from $200 to $400. The planes are not kits, they're all scratch built. Evolution, of course, from many, many designs through the years. We have people here from California, from Canada, all over the United States, of course, and we have Akishi Kazumoto from Japan, who happens to be the Japanese record holder in speed. You might say it's a fraternal group. We all get along good together. We all try to help each other. We all enjoy seeing each other do better things. I don't know,
What are
the rules being, the engine work is wide open, the prop work is wide open. The airplane, as I said, they're original, so obviously that's wide open. The only thing is we're all running 10% nitro fuel. We all take it out of the same can.
What does the pilot have to do?
The pilot, with the changing of times, with so many of us getting older, you can build a plane. It is entered under your name, and you can get a pilot to fly it for you, which keeps more people in it, more people interested, keeps the event alive, all the speed events, which is very important. New people coming up, we have a young lad from California here, Bobby Fogg. He's doing very well in junior. We have Peter Brown, we have a few other young kids that manage, when they have parents helping them, of course, to get into the event. It's hard for somebody to do it by themselves, really.
How do the planes take off, and how many laps do they have to fly?
Okay.
What are the average time?
They take off from a dolly. It's called a mousetrap dolly. It's set. As the airplane picks up speed, it literally lifts the dolly off the ground and pops the trap. Speeds today are averaging from the mid-150s to 177 right now. Hopefully by the time the day is over, we'll get well into the 180s. That should be the mark. The pilot has to control the plane from takeoff, keeping line tension, which is very important, wind at his back usually. He takes off, has to groove it. He gets into the pylon. They let 3 laps go by and they start timing. This class, 70-foot lines, 6 laps is a half a mile. That's what they're timed for.
What is the purpose of the pylon?
Everybody flies on the pylon for a couple of reasons, really. Mainly, it started out as a non-whipping device. If you flew free, the planes automatically went faster because you could lead them more. With your wrist, and they do require your wrist in the pylon, it holds you from whipping, and it gives you something to help you stabilize yourself at the same time. And it keeps the circle safe for the mark of the line, so you don't start wandering while you're flying. I don't know if there's more than about a half a dozen good flying sites in the country, really. Local towns have some flying sites where they sport fly, but there's really no accommodations for speed. We come right off the bench working our equipment, and we come to a meet. I'm sorry, I have to leave you right now.
Okay, let's get the pictures of you flying, okay?
Okay.
Great.
70.
You get the air out.
Keep wire tight. Keep the wire tight. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Don't worry about that.
Because he can't back out.
Yeah.
20, 30, 40, 50. Get it, Bob. Get it.
All right. Time is on.
Yeah, time's on. Kishi.
55. 55.
55. Oh, yeah. Well.
I don't like to throw it. Good. On, good?
Ain't good. He's got something leaking. Something leaking.
Go. All right, let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Where's What's
Back outside.
Something's leaking. Yeah, you have fuel leaking all over the place.
Takeshi, fuel's leaking. Yeah. Hold the plane. Go.
Not second. Tie. How? Second place. Wow, what did you probably have to go on
Okay, I'm Wayne Yeager. I'm the event director for Pylon at the Nats. Pylon is a case where 4 airplanes race against each other, and they are timed, and the guy that does 10 laps before the other guy does him wins, and he gets 4 points. Second guy gets 3 points, and so on down the line. This particular event is called Formula One, where these planes are totally unlimited. They can rework the engines, use unlimited nitro. They do about 180 miles an hour downwind, and they're very fast. That's why we have a wide safety line here, because they're also very dangerous. But they go pretty fast, and it's a pretty exciting racing event. All the guys that are well skilled like to race this event because it's a fun event.
What do the people in turn 1 do?
Well, the people at number 1, see, the course is laid out, it's about 600 foot long. And because of the depth perception, they can't see the length, so each flyer has a caller with him, and that caller tells him when he reaches that point. But the way he knows they reach that point is there's a guy down there with a shutter that flips it when they reach a line right next to the pole. So when they flip the shutter, this caller says turn, and the guy can turn because they must fly outside the pylons. It's a 3-pylon course. They must go around the outside. So that's a signaling system to the caller to tell them that that plane has reached that point and it's okay to turn. Okay?
What do the lap counters do?
Well, the lap counters count the laps to see that they do their 10 laps, which is required for a race. They flip a card each time their plane goes by them. And they also time the race because ties and things like that are settled by fast times plus we give awards for fast time. So the lap counters are, there's one lap counter for each individual airplane, and he counts that person's laps just as is there in other racing. And excuse my cough, I got a cold.
Okay, why are they sitting in the cages?
For protection, because they're watching their particular airplane, and it may be out in front of them, and they don't know what's coming up behind them. So the cages are strictly for safety. All the cages are for that purpose.
Yeah, it's not running very nice. There you go. Yeah. Going wider on 2-3. You know that one detail? Flies erratically. It's got an 8-ounce tank in there. Wow.
Okay, for those of us that don't know what you're doing, tell everybody what you're doing here.
Well, as the racers come into the line, we got to make sure they don't cheat and put a little extra in their tank, so we take all the extra fuel out of their tank before they get on the flight line, and then my dad over here, he refuels them with the proper fuel. That way it keeps people honest.
Cool.
Jessica Lee Thoreau, and I've been flying for about 12 years and racing pylon for 10 years of that. The reasons why I like pylon, I guess there's basically 3 reasons. One is probably the same as everyone else. It's an adrenaline rush. You just can't get enough of it. And number 2 is that no matter how many years you're flying or how many times you've done well, you can always improve your course because it's 10 laps around and you've never flown 10 laps. And the 3rd reason is probably that you don't have to live, eat, and breathe pylon racing in order to become a national champion. You really don't need to practice that much once you've found your course. But I've enjoyed it, and I've met fabulous people all around the world doing it, and I'd recommend it to anyone that was thinking of trying it. Thanks.
She won, I think.
What'd you get?
Okay. Second place, Nipro. Nipro. Come on up here, Jessica. All right. Over the years, we've given this girl a lot of trophies. The Nats. I usually get a hug out of her, but I see her walking around with a guy the other day. Maybe I'll just shake that. That's her wife. Nice going,
Thanks
Jess.
a lot.
Good going. Good.
Give him a hug.
Yeah.
Hi there, I'm Tom Morris, the current Secretary-Treasurer of Pampa, and I'm from Anniston, Alabama. I want to spend a couple of minutes just giving you an idea of the purpose of Pampa, the type of things we do, and the services we perform and provide to our membership. Pampa is the Precision Aerobatic Model Pilots Association, which was formed up in 1973 at the Nats. And the purpose of Pampa is to provide an association for the stunt flyers worldwide as a means of communications, and also to produce a newsletter so we can have that exchange of information that keeps the stunt community going. Pampa actually is in charge of two major contests per year. One is the Nats, of course, and the other is the team trials. So Pampa organizes, gets all the event directors and the judges together, does all the training, and puts on those two major events. A third one has been added recently, and that's the Vintage Stunt Championships, which take place in Tucson, Arizona. So far we've had 4 of those, and Pampa also puts that on for the nostalgia and old-time stunt type flying.
Okay, we're going to start. You ready?
Ready.
This is Don Holfelder, a flyer from Florida. Right now he's getting his engine prepared for takeoff. He's just started. He's given the judges the signal. He's got 1 minute now to get out to the center of the circle and take the airplane off. There he goes out to the center. Some of them all have their neat little routine they go through to get out there and get the handle ready and get comfortable. He's well within the minute's time. As long as the wheels leave the ground within a minute, he's okay. The first thing he's going to do is he's going to take off and fly 2 level laps. Those are judged by the judge. Then he flies 2 more level laps for a total of 5 before he actually goes into his first maneuver. So we'll watch the takeoff now. His pit man is straightening out some lines on the end of the wing for him. He better hurry up. He's telling them something's wrong with the lines. He's telling them not to do it. Now they got a problem. Now he's going to miss his takeoff time within a minute. However, he only loses 5 points if he does that. So now he's got to go back and check out the line tips to make sure that the wires aren't snagged. He's obviously gone over his 1 minute, but like I said, he only loses 5 points for that. So he'll still go with the flight. These are the kind of things that happen when you're in a nationals. Problem is he's liable to run over his 8-minute time. Each pilot's allotted 8 minutes. Now here's the takeoff. Has to climb up to a level flight and hold that position for 2 laps. There's 1. He comes around. This is the 2nd lap. The judges are going to judge that 2 laps in the takeoff and give him a point score for it. Now he goes 2 more laps before he goes into his first maneuver, which will be what we call a reverse swing over. He'll make a 90-degree turn in front of the judges, right up over the top of his head, and come out inverted. We'll watch for that in just a second. There he goes up, over the top of the head. He comes out inverted, makes a half a circle inverted, comes back up again, over the top, and back down, and that's a maneuver that will be judged. Now he gives 2 level laps in between each maneuver so the judges have time to judge him. Now he's going to do 3 inside loops. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Now he comes out inverted, and he's going to fly in what we call inverted flight. He gives 2 level laps, and then 2 to be judged, and then 2 more between the maneuvers. On these maneuvers, the judges are looking for precision in the rounds and the squares. The levels have to be level flight, not bouncing up and down, which is tough to do today in the wind. The 2 middle laps are judged. Then he does 2 more to get ready for the next maneuver. And coming back around. Okay, probably 1 more lap, and the next maneuver is going to be 3 outside loops. 3 round outside loops. There's 1, and 2, and 3. Now he comes back around and he recovers upright coming around with 2 level laps for the next maneuver, which will be a inside square, and he has to do 2 of those. The judges are looking to see how sharp he makes the corners. There's 1, top, 2, 3, 4. He does 2 of those. They have to be one on top of the other and the right size. They're supposed to be square. Next maneuver you're going to see, he's going to come around and start at the top, and he's supposed to do, he missed his outside squares. He went into the 2 triangles and failed to do the outside squares. That's going to cost him 25 points because he's going to lose his pattern points. But they will score the rest of the maneuvers. Now he's going into what we call a round 8, horizontal 8. 2 outside rounds and 2 outside rounds. There they are. Coming around for the 2 level laps, he's going to do the same thing, only the loops will be square now. Here comes the first one. He's going to do an inside square, over the top, now an outside square, and he's got to do that 1 more time, 1 more outside. There's his outside square. Now he's done the square 8. The next maneuver he's going to do better be a vertical 8. And these will be round. He'll do a loop on the bottom and a loop on the top. There's the bottom loop. 1 time, comes back up. There's the top loop, tough in the wind. 1 more, bottom loop, back around for a top loop. Bottom loop again. Now he's coming around. The next maneuvers, some pilots say this is the toughest one coming up. It's called an hourglass. It's 2 triangles, one on top of the other. There's the top leg, across the top, sharp dive to the bottom and down the bottom. Not a bad looking maneuver, considering the wind he's fighting. Now the next maneuver that's coming around, he's going to come up right in front of the judges, and he's going to do an overhead, 2 overhead horizontal 8s. Up to the top. I don't know if he's going to be able to work this one through. There's one. Coming around for another loop. Something doesn't sound like that engine's running all that well. He's got a problem. There's the second one. He's going to force it through the maneuver, though. And down the other side, and he made it. He's got 1 maneuver left. He's going to do what we call a 4-leaf clover. He's going to start with an inside loop on the right-hand side, and that's going to be right now. Then he goes to an outside loop on the lower left, back up to another outside loop on the upper left, back down to another inside loop. That's the 4-leaf clover, puts a stem on it across the top, and he's done. That completes the maneuvers that he has to do, and the only thing left he has to get scored on is his landing, how well and smooth he lands, and that doesn't start until the engine shuts off. And all of this has to happen inside of 8 minutes from the time he gave the signal to the judges to start his engine. What you see now is just a series of flat level loops that he's waiting for the engine to shut off. They have no control over this. It's all done by the amount of fuel they put in the tank and the size of the tank. So all we can do now is wait for him. Part of the problem is it took him so long to get started, he may run over the 8 minutes, and that would cost him some more points. He loses the landing points then. Sometimes they try to do that to get the engine to shut off. They do a tight inside loop to get that engine to shut off. Now he has a nice, smooth glide to a landing. He doesn't want to bounce. You try to land with the wind downwind. Yeah, he had a little bit of a bounce. Overall, not a bad flight.
I'm Jeff Reeves. I'm from Sydney, Australia. I was very fortunate 3 years ago to live in San Diego. And during that time, I became part of the American modeling scene. This is my 4th US Nationals, and I returned from Sydney, Australia to Chicopee to meet up with all my old friends again, and I'm having a ball. I'm not flying all that well at the moment, mind you, but I am having a ball. Modeling to me is the friendships. I feel part of a worldwide bunch of eccentrics that all do this because they love the sport.
Hello to all of my friends and fellow model builders and people who are not associated with the model aircraft industry. My name is Sal Taby. I'm from Lakewood, California, and I have attended every national contest since 1939, wherever the location happened to be, whether it be in California or New York or the Midwest. We fly free flight model airplanes, and the idea of flying free flight is the model is released by the contestant. We have a mechanical device that shuts off the engine at a prescribed time, let's say 9 seconds, and then the airplane must glide for 2 minutes. Now, if you're fortunate enough that you make 3 2-minute flights, you can progress on to the 2.5-minute flight with a reduced engine run, say 5 seconds. And if you make 2 2.5-minute flights with a 5-second engine run, then you progress on to the 4-second engine run with 2.5-minute flight. And you keep flying these flights until finally you fail to make a 2.5-minute flight with a 4-second engine run, at which time your flights are ended and you're done for the day. And if you have enough of these flights in order, say 8 or 9, the chances are pretty good that you will win the contest. Normally it will take 5 or 6 of these flights to win the contest. If you can make 8, 9, or 10, you are sure just that much more of having victory. And that's what modeling is all about. These models are free. They are not controlled in any manner. Once they leave your hand, the timing device shuts off the engine, the models glide in a circle, and they fly free as a bird. They fly in egg-shaped circles. That is, they fly downwind, and a 4 or 5-minute flight, the model can travel downwind 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile, and the modeler either chases it on foot or chases it on a motorbike. And it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of good people when you come to these nationals. Generally meet people that we haven't seen for a year, because they come from all over the United States and Canada, Mexico. We have on occasion had contestants from Australia and England and France and Italy. So it's really a worldwide thing. It's sponsored by the Academy of Model Aeronautics, and anyone around the world is free to come and compete at these national competitions. And it's a lot of fun, and I've been doing it since I was 13 years old, and I'm 72 now, and still enjoying it.
What other kinds of models do you fly besides the gas-powered model?
We also fly rubber-powered models, which you use any number of rubber strands, say 18 strands of rubber, which you wind with like a drill with a hook on the end of it, and you put in 400 to 500 turns or 600 turns, and then the model is released, and again it flies free. The propeller turns until the power is diminished, at which time normally the propellers fold even with the body, and the model glides like a bird, and it will just glide in circles and downwind, and again, just like the previous explanation, may go 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile. Well, this is good exercise. You run 1/2 a mile, you run 3/4 of a mile, you run it at a nice, easy jog. It keeps your body fit, keeps you young.
I'm George Busso from Hyde Park, New York, and I'm one of the judges working here, one of many judges working here in the control line scale circles. The models have already been judged for static conformance to 3 views and that kind of thing, the shrunken version of the real thing. And now they're being judged for the flying, during the flying episode. Now, basically what all judges are looking for is realism. A miniature model airplane flying, trying to duplicate the real or full-size aircraft which it models. And we look at everything. We have score sheets in 3 different categories: sport scale, the international category, and also precision, which is the highest level, you might say, of the highest level of modeling and precision scale. Now, what we're looking for is how realistic is the takeoff, his climb out. We've had several instances of models climbing too steeply. We've had a situation where the model took a full circle and gradually rose from the ground like a full-scale aircraft. In that case, he'd get more points than the one which jumps off the ground. We score 0 to 10, like the Olympics. Many people have seen the scorecards go up. Well, we just happen to do it on a piece of paper. There are 3 judges, and 3 judges because one judge wouldn't quite give a good average of the score. There have been, through the years, as many as 5 judges judging the flight. In this case, it's 3. And then they take a look at all 3 scores to determine exactly how realistic was this flight.
Hi, my name is John Clowin, and you're looking at a Byron F-15 Eagle. This was the first gray aircraft painted in the U.S. inventory. It was modeled after aircraft serial number 73-100 with the high visibility yellow stripes on it. The aircraft is powered with 2 OS-91 VRDF ducted fan engines, producing approximately 14 pounds of thrust apiece. The airplane weighs 28 pounds empty, carries 40 ounces of fuel, methanol oil, and nitromethane. It has 11 servos, 1 for speed brake actuation, 1 for nose wheel steering, 2 each for the rudders, 2 each for the aileron, 2 each for the elevator, 1 for the throttle, and 1 for the wheel brakes, and 1 for retracts. The aircraft has been clocked at over 120 miles an hour, straight and level. The kit was originally purchased back in 1987, made its first flight in 1989, and here at the U.S. Nationals in 1992, it made its 10th flight today.
Lights on.